For over 4 decades, the tragic death of Natalie Wood was explained as a simple accident. The beloved Hollywood actress, famous for roles in Rebel Without a Cause, West Side Story, and Miracle on 34th Street, was found dead on November 29, 1981, off the coast of California's Catalina Island. At the time, it seemed like a sad but unremarkable tragedy. She had accidentally drowned while out on a yacht with her husband, actor Robert Wagner, and co-star Christopher Walken. However, as new information began to surface over the years, a far more sinister story emerged, one filled with fear, jealousy, and unanswered questions that Hollywood had worked hard to bury. What really happened that night on the yacht Splendor was far from just a tragic accident. The fateful night, a stormy getaway, gone wrong. The events leading to Natalie Wood's death began on November 27, 1981, when she, Wagner, Walken, and yacht captain Dennis DeVerne embarked on a weekend getaway to Catalina Island. Despite rough weather conditions, rain, cold winds, and high waves, Wagner insisted on moving the yacht to a more isolated location, a decision that would prove to be fatal. That evening, the group went ashore for dinner at Doug's Harbor Reef, where they drank excessively and partied into the night. By 10:30 p.m., they were visibly intoxicated. What seemed like a carefree vacation turned into a stormy night, filled with jealousy and tension, particularly between Wagner and Walken, which would escalate when they returned to the yacht, changing the course of everything. The argument that changed everything, a jealous rage. When they returned to the yacht, things quickly turned sour. According to later statements, Wagner became increasingly jealous of the closeness between Natalie and Walken, particularly as Walken encouraged Natalie to continue pursuing her career instead of focusing solely on her marriage. The situation grew heated, and Captain Davern recalled Wagner slamming a wine bottle on the table, shouting, "What are you trying to do? Sleep with my wife?" The argument between Wagner and Natalie escalated, with tension growing throughout the evening. Later, at approximately midnight, a voice was heard across the water by a nearby boat. The chilling cry for help from a woman in distress, "Help me, someone, please help me, I'm drowning," was followed by a man's calm voice saying, "Okay, honey," and then nothing. Tragically, no immediate action was taken, and it would be several more hours before authorities were contacted. The silence and the delay, a fateful 4-hour gap. Despite the cries for help that lasted nearly 15 minutes, no immediate action was taken to search for Natalie. The Coast Guard wasn't alerted until 3:30 a.m., and the rescue boat didn't arrive until 5:11 a.m., by which point it was too late. Natalie's body was discovered a mile from the yacht, floating in the water. A small dinghy, the Prince Valiant, was found beached nearby, still tied up as though it had never been untied at all. Wagner claimed that Natalie must have gone out to secure the dinghy and slipped into the water, but those who knew her best were skeptical. Natalie had a lifelong fear of dark water, and friends and family said she would never go out alone in the middle of the night, especially with her deep-seated fear of drowning. Her death simply didn't make sense as an accident. From Hollywood starlet to tragic icon, Natalie Wood's rise to fame. Natalie Wood's journey to fame was marked by both immense success and deep personal struggle. Born Natalia Nikolna Zakhareno on July 20th, 1938 in San Francisco to Russian immigrants, her mother Maria was determined to make her daughter a star, believing that fame would be their ticket out of poverty. At the age of 4, a film crew spotted Natalie and gave her a small role, launching her acting career. By 1946, she was starring alongside Orson Welles in Tomorrow is Forever. Despite the early successes, her childhood was far from typical. Her mother's obsession with perfection meant long workdays on set, leaving little time for childhood experiences. By age 16, Natalie was no longer a child star. She had become Hollywood's next leading lady, but the pressures of fame were beginning to take their toll. A life of pain beneath the glamour. The cost of stardom. Though Natalie Wood became a cultural icon with her Oscar-nominated role in Rebel Without a Cause, the reality behind the scenes was far darker. During filming, she began a relationship with the film's director, Nicholas Ray, who was nearly 3 times her age. What tabloids labeled a romance, Natalie later described as confusion and pain. She was not just a star, she was a commodity, manipulated and controlled by the industry, by directors, and even by her mother, who saw her as an investment rather than a daughter. This was the first of many painful lessons for Natalie as she navigated the toxic dynamics of fame and relationships. Her early experiences would shape her worldview, and her struggles would become a major theme in her personal life. Natalie's marriage to Robert Wagner, a golden couple with cracks. In 1957, Natalie Wood married Robert Wagner, a relationship that seemed to fulfill her childhood dreams of a fairy tale romance. The couple became Hollywood's golden pair, beautiful, glamorous, and adored by the public. But beneath the surface, cracks began to appear. While Natalie's career skyrocketed with multiple hit films, Wagner's career stalled, fueling a quiet jealousy within their marriage. In 1961, rumors spread that Natalie had caught Wagner in a compromising position with another man. Whether or not the rumors were true, the damage was done, and their marriage ended in 1962. At just 24 years old, Natalie found herself heartbroken and alone. She would go on to marry British producer Richard Gregson in 1969 and have a daughter, Natasha, but her happiness was short-lived when Gregson's affair led to another painful divorce. Reuniting with Wagner, a second chance or a recycled tragedy? Despite the heartbreak of her earlier marriages, fate brought Robert Wagner back into Natalie's life in 1972. Both older and wiser, they remarried in 1972 with hopes of starting afresh. They had another daughter, Courtney, in 1974, but the same old patterns resurfaced. Wagner's jealousy returned, and Natalie became increasingly restless. Though she worked less in the late 1970s to focus on her family, her career reignited with Brainstorm, a film co-starring Christopher Walken. The tension on set was palpable, and the jealousy that Wagner felt toward Walken began to strain the marriage once again. This tension, compounded by Natalie's unresolved emotional pain, would set the stage for the tragedy that unfolded on the yacht Splendor in November 1981. The investigations and witness testimonies, new revelations emerged for decades. The official story of Natalie's death remained unchanged, classified as an accidental drowning. But those who were closest to her, including her sister Lana Wood, never accepted the explanation. Lana, in particular, pushed for a deeper investigation, speaking out in interviews and writing books to demand answers. Her persistence eventually paid off in 2000, nearly 2 decades after Natalie's death, when Captain Dennis Davern, the yacht's skipper, broke his silence. In an interview, Davern revealed shocking new details, claiming that a violent argument had occurred on the yacht that night between Wagner and Walken. Davern recounted hearing shouting and a loud thud from below deck, followed by silence. He also stated that Wagner prevented him from calling for help or turning on the floodlights when Natalie went missing. The final truth, continuing questions, and lingering pain. To this day, no charges have been filed, but the case remains open. Investigators point to the 4-hour gap before anyone called for help as the most suspicious detail, as survival time in cold water is measured in minutes, not hours. New witnesses continue to come forward, further complicating the narrative. As recently as 2021, Natalie's sister Lana Wood revealed painful new details about Natalie's past, including an alleged encounter with Kirk Douglas that had haunted her for years. For Natalie, Hollywood's promises of fame and glory came at a devastating cost. In the end, her death was not just the result of an accident, but the tragic culmination of years of fear, manipulation, and silence, factors that Hollywood